The meeting will please come to order. Good evening, everyone. My name is Trippy Congo, President of Wilmington City Council. And on behalf of all of my colleagues, we would like to thank all of you who have joined us in council chambers, as well as those who are on virtually. Today is Thursday, July the 3rd. For public comment, there is a Google Form sign-up link in the chat for anyone. Oh, it's Wednesday, July the 3rd. Thank you. I'm used to the meetings being on Thursday. Thank you. Today is Wednesday, July the 3rd. Again, for anyone who would like to give public comment who is not in council chambers, there is a Google Form sign-up link in our chat for anyone who would like to speak. And public comment will take place after non-legislative business. This time we will have our opening prayer by Akira Granado.
Heavenly Father, we have assembled to handle the affairs of our city. As we do so, we ask for your guidance and understanding. We pray that our city reaches a place of peace and safety. Keep us out of harm's way and bless those who are in authority. Let respect be key in all our endeavors. Amen.
Amen. At this time, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman White.
Present.
Councilwoman Darby. Councilwoman Oliver.
Present.
Councilwoman Harley.
Present.
Councilwoman Fields.
Present.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Here.
Councilman Johnson.
Here.
Councilman Field.
Present.
Councilwoman Cabrera. Councilman Mills.
Present.
Councilman Spadola. Councilwoman Bracy.
Present.
President Congo.
Here.
10 present and 3 absent.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have the reading of the minutes of our previous meeting.
June 20th, 2024, City Council met on regular session with remote participation. The above date at 6:30 p.m. President Ernest M. Congo II presiding.
Mr. President, I move the minutes be accepted as written.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second the minutes be accepted as written on the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. At this time, we will have our committee reports.
June 13, 2024, President, members of Council, City of Wilmington, ladies and gentlemen, we, your Community Development and Urban Planning Committee, met by anchor location, remote participation to and was referred ordinance number 24037 entitled, an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 of the City Code relating to the registration of vacant properties. I've given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members present: Councilwoman Cabrera, Councilman Field, Councilwoman Fields, Councilman Spadola, Councilman White, absent with leave, Councilwoman Darby, Councilwoman McCoy, and President Congo.
I move the committee report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second the report be received, recorded, and filed on the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
June 17, 2024, we, your Public Works and Transportation Committee, met by anchor location, remote participation to was referred ordinance number 24034 entitled, an ordinance to amend Chapter 11 of the City Code to revise the City of Wilmington pretreatment ordinance. I've given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members present: Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Bracy, Councilman Field, Councilman Spadola. Absent with leave, Councilman White, Councilwoman Fields, and President Congo.
I move this committee report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second the report be received, recorded, and filed on the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. At this time, we'll have our city treasurer's report.
July 3rd, 2024, Total investment, $494,474,038.21. Total cash on hand, $13,807,115.84. Grand total, $508,281,154.05. Submitted by Dwayne Sims, City Treasurer.
Mr. President, I move the treasurer's report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second the report be received, recorded, and filed. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. I'll accept the motion to move to accept all non-legislative business.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second to accept all non-legislative business. On the question, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. At this time, we will have our recognition resolution. Councilmember Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like all the members of the Monday Club to please come up here, please. Somebody can help me. Vince, can you help me organize? Help me put them together. So come up. How you doing? Stay here, then they can come back here. Keep moving. Vince is gonna help me out here.
Gonna come up front too.
Right. I mean, the short one's in the back, up front, and the tall one's in the back.
You can come a little bit
I can't have nobody in front of me.
to your side.
Somebody wanna come right here?
Couple over to her right.
Rob, you wanna get up here, cause you're kinda short.
Come on, buddy.
Okay, first I would like to thank the Monday Club members for all showing up tonight. They had an outstanding event. They always do some good things in the community, but they had over, 600 people who showed up at their event, the 148th ball, where they gave out scholarships, and some of us was involved with that. So if any council members here, could you please stand up that was able to assist with some of the scholarships? Please stand up. Thank you so much. The sponsor of this is Anthea Oliver. Whereas the Census City Council to honor individuals, organizations that amplify outstanding achievements and deserving of recognition and acknowledgments. Councilmember Anthea Oliver, along with my other council members, would like to recognize the Monday Club for its 148th year legacy. And whereas the Monday Club was founded in 1876 by a group of 7 black men. These individuals worked in Wilmington's communities as butlers, cooks, coachmen, janitors, and chauffeurs. Monday was the only day that they were required not to work. That became the time they needed to relax, enjoy, drink, and have much-needed conversation. And whereas the Monday Club began meeting at the hotel on the Front Street as the group was granted their charter in 1893. In 1896, the Monday Club moved into a new home at 917 North French Street. And in 2002, the club moved in its current location at 4020 Newcastle Avenue in Newcastle, Delaware. And in 2020, a historical marker was placed in front of that site. And whereas due to segregation restriction in Wilmington, the Monday Club was one of the first places that members could find some solidarity and freedom. The club's mission was to create framework in the community, promote political involvement, social economic freedom, cultural enrichment, and help bring some social changes by giving minorities a voice. Over the last 148 years, the club has given rise to some of our most notable civil rights champions and political figures throughout the state and city of Wilmington, such as Lewis Redding, Edward R. Bell, Dr. Woodward Wilson, James H. Gillum Sr., Herman Holloway Sr., Charles Kent, Snyder Clark, Granville Brewerton, Robert Snow, Sammy Congo, and Wilmington's first mayor, James H. Seals Jr., just to name a few. And whereas today, the Monday Club has brought its focus to causes beyond civil matters, organizational events, its 100-plus memberships proudly carry on the legacy at the club by preserving its role as a safe haven to relax in a social atmosphere, as a place given and gain membership, and as launching point for taking active role in the community. Now there be it resolved by the City Council of Wilmington that this legislative body acknowledges the Mondays Club 148th legacy, and we wish members continue prosperity as they build on their rich heritage. Job well done. Make some more copies, and y'all shall get one. So, would you like to say a few words?
Good evening. My name's Ken Snell. I'm the Vice President of Monday Club. I'm speaking in reference to our president, who's not here on vacation, Bruce Pinkett. With my brothers behind me and the club in general, our last 3 months have been very unique. We went to the White House back in April to be recognized. Went to the State House in June to be recognized. And now being recognized in this building, it just brings a collapse, it's all the things that are special to each one of us. The Monday Club is still striving. You heard Ms. Oliver just talk about 100 strong. Well, I'm glad it's here to share with you we're 200 strong and continue to grow. And we're here to help the city do whatever we can to help continue to foster, not just a brotherhood for ourselves, but to mentor young folks. So we're always here to help you. Please reach out. We thank you for all that you have done for us, and we hope that we can continue to support you. Thank you very much.
Mr. President?
Councilmember Harley.
Yes, first of all, I want to thank Council Member Oliver for recognizing this distinguished group of men, to the president in his absence, to the vice president, officers, and members. Again, I want to just say congratulations. And when I think about the Monday Club members, I think about how you have changed the narrative from, as it has been mentioned, from coachmen, cooks, chauffeurs, butlers, etc., to professional attorneys, bankers, and whatever skill that you have, business owners, and etc. So when I look at you, when I think about the Monday Club, I can truly see how you have changed the narrative, and not only changed the narrative from then to now, but you give our young black males something to look up to. As it was mentioned, you mentoring is one of your areas, the scholarships. So you have done a par excellent job in terms of giving back to the community in so many different ways. So I just want to say congratulations, keep up the great work. And when I look at you, I see black excellence. And again, congratulations.
Councilmember Brigida Fields.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just want to say congratulations to the Monday Club members. I truly appreciate what you do for the community, and especially what you do for the young individuals that are that want to go to college. I think it's good for them to have a role model and see 200 black men pushing this generation forward. So, I just want to say congratulations. This is well overdue. And I look forward to supporting you next year as well. And, I've attended a few events there, and however you do it, when you do it, it is done in excellent. And I just really appreciate you all for what you do in this community and throughout the city of Wilmington. Thank you.
Councilmember Bracy, followed by Councilmember Cabrera.
Thank you. I just wanted to say a couple of, express my congratulations, and it's inspiring because people always say, where are the black men? Where are the strong black men? Where are the professional black men? Where are the men in business? And they're right here. and you have been here, and you stand strong, and there are many young brothers that may not even ever approach you, but that are watching what you guys are doing, and we appreciate your persistence, your dedication to community, and to really being an example, not just what you do publicly that we see, but the things behind the scenes that we will never know that you guys have done to impact our community and our lives. So I just want to say thank you.
I would like to recognize Councilmember Cabrera.
So noted.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, first, I do want to say a few comments and just thank you for everything that you do in the community. I was made aware of the Monday Club back in the day when I worked for Mayor Sills. I think of the prestigious members when I go in there and I see all the photos that you have of former members, current members, men like James H. Sills Jr., Jim Gilliam Sr., both who were mentors and were transformational in my life to be connected with them. And I see firsthand the work that you do. I'm so thankful to Councilwoman Oliver for making us aware of your scholarship fund and for affording us the opportunity to be able to donate to that scholarship fund. I was really amazed by the caliber of the students that got those scholarships and where they're going to school in Princeton. I mean, this is not small potatoes. So you're opening doors for young people of color, to be able to have the opportunities. Because we know that with education, especially with education, they have a fighting chance. It's equitable. Among all the other things that you do in the community, that one was really special. And congratulations on the ball. I was told that that was the biggest ball to date. Is that true? Yes, it was. Awesome. Well, congratulations. Know that you, as long as I'm standing and breathing, you can count on my support, and I'm going to be going in to hang out and do some other things over there on the DL. Thanks.
I would like to recognize Councilmember Darby and Councilmember Vincent White. You have comments?
Yes, Mr. President. Brothers, it's so good to see you. You know, your work stands for itself. And I look at the group and I think of the friendships and camaraderie, and it just warms my heart. I'm probably one of the few council members that remember you guys on right down the way. And I remember going in there, you know, and the people that were in that room were awesome. Names that the councilwoman had gave, leaders in the community. And to know that you're still going strong and you're growing, it just warms my heart. But I love the brotherhood. And as someone who's partaketh a little bit, I love the camaraderie over there. And I wish you nothing but success. And maybe one day we'll even have you move back into the city. You know, how about that? But thank you for coming out and thank you for what you do.
I would just like to, just from a young guy, my dad being one of the oldest members of the Monday Club now, and him just taking me in there, I was just always in awe of, like council members have referred to, like just the caliber of members who are present, and now to be a part of that, it is, you know, it's very humbling, but it's a great honor just to be able to go in there and just see people who I have admired my entire life and how they have embraced me and my family. And I just want to thank everybody who was a part, and thank you all for what you are doing for our community, not only the city, but the county, but the state. Just want to keep up the great work, and you know that we will always have your back here at Wilmington City Council. Thank you. Yes. Stay in there. Stay in there. Stay in there. Huh? All right, thank you, brother.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate y'all. That was nice.
I would also like to recognize and say happy birthday to Miss Violet Jane Dixon, who celebrated her 100th birthday last week.
Wow.
And as far as sympathy resolutions from all of council, there is a sympathy resolution for Shawn Allen. From Councilmember Cabrera, sympathy resolutions for Anthony Fusco Sr. and Alice and McMillan. And from Councilmember Oliver, sympathy resolutions for Kenny Robertson and Antoinette White-Gore. At this time, we will move to public comment. As a friendly reminder, there is a Google Form sign-up link in our chat for anyone who would like to give public comment. Your time limit is 3 minutes. Once you have around 30 seconds left, I will give you a friendly reminder so you can wrap up your comments. And please remember to introduce yourself when you do either step forward to the podium or are recognized online. And do we have right here? And I think we just have one person who has signed up for public comment, Christian Willauer. Thank you for joining us, and please remember to introduce yourself, and please watch your step when you come to the podium.
Thank you, Council President Congo and council members who are here. I just wanted to give public comment on proposed legislation that you'll be voting on tonight. The Wilmington City Council is going to be voting on proposed legislation to increase vacant property fees, including increasing the annual fee for owning a property that's vacant to $5,000 for 3 to 4 years vacant, $10,000 for 4 to 5 years vacant, and $12,000 for more than 5 years vacant. And to start charging annual vacant property fees for commercial properties that aren't used for substantial business activity. And it's expected that the vacant property fee revenue is projected to increase by 1.5 million to a total of 2.4 million. And I just wanted to say vacant properties are a big problem that Wilmington does need to address. But increasing fees is not the policy that we need to bring vacant properties back into use. And you know why? It's because, one, it doesn't make any sense. It costs money to renovate vacant properties. So charging owners big annual fees actually just drains money off that could be better invested in maintaining or renovating the property. And two, it doesn't work. Wilmington has had vacant property fees for many years. And the city has about the same number of vacant properties today that the city had when they started charging major fines to owners of vacant properties. Making big fees that don't work bigger isn't going to work any better. And it's a one-size-fits-all, having these fines, it's a one-size-fits-all approach that doesn't reward good behavior. So a property that's not occupied but is well-maintained is going to have to pay the same high fee as a property that's completely abandoned and unsecured. And finally, it's not common. There's a lot of other cities that have that are struggling with this problem of vacancy, but they're not charging owners just for having a vacant property. Cities that are achieving results are doing the two things that work. One is focusing enforcement efforts on owners whose vacant properties are causing a problem. And council passed legislation a number of years ago to fine owners of vacant properties that aren't kept clean, secure, and watertight. That kind of legislation makes a lot of sense, but just an across-the-board fee doesn't make sense. And finally, you know, focusing that the cities that are achieving results are doing two things at work. One is focusing enforcement efforts on owners whose vacant properties are causing a problem. And two, providing resources to owners, nonprofits, and developers who have the desire and know-how to bring vacant properties back into use. The city of Wilmington knows what it takes to bring
30
vacant
seconds.
properties back into use because it's already using the tools we need for our neighborhoods to revitalize downtown and the riverfront. These policies include grants and other subsidies, access to loans, tax abatement, and putting consistent effort and resources into implementing a well-thought-out plan. If you add expanding
10
credit
seconds.
counseling, homebuyer training, then Wilmington really could get traction on this vacant property issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you. WITN, has anyone signed up virtually? Okay, thank you. At this time, we will move to legislative business. Councilmember Darby.
Yes. I have a resolution to present on your behalf, President Congo.
Resolution 24040, Agenda 0452, whereas substitute 2 to Ordinance 23040 established residency requirements for all non-elected city employees and created a residency task force consisting of 9 members. Members include 1 member from the Department of Human Resources, 1 member of the administration, at least 3 members.
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. The resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by yea or nay vote on the question.
Yeah, so I'm gonna open it up in a second for my colleagues if they have anything they want to add. But this is about the residency task force. So a few months ago, the community came out in numbers asking that we maintain residency for the city of Wilmington to remain at 5 years. In that, we also established, because we do understand that there are some challenges, you know, to living in the city of Wilmington, where we had administration over the last two of his terms who focused on developing high-end apartments. So we know that there's like a lack of affordable housing in our city. Rent is high. You know, we have all of these issues that have come up over or been increased over the last 2 terms for the administration. So we know that there's issues with cost of living here in the city. We know there's issues with affordability. So we want our residency task force to look at how do we provide incentives? How do we look at what it looks like to live in Wilmington? And they are going to come together, this task force, to give the city council recommendations and the administration on recommendations on how do we support people who have to move here or support the people who already live here. Because Wilmington is a great place to live in. We just have to have equitable development. We have to care about all people. And we have to look at ways that we can really work with people to get them to move here and also get them to stay here. Is really what the residency task force is about. So this one just makes some appointmentships to the residency task force.
Councilmember Johnson.
I definitely support this change, and I'm supportive of this. I was a fan of the task force and a fan of us looking at this because this is an issue this session beyond. Day to day, I know I engage with Public Works and Parks almost, every few days, and they're still having staffing issues. So it's due to something. HR needs to be involved. So I'm glad the administration is putting some of their top leaders on this task force so we can figure out a plan to really take us further in the city in terms of how to recruit, how to retain employees, and how to make sure we're fostering the development of our employees. So I'm definitely supportive of this and look forward to being involved in their work.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Yes, Mr. President. Thank you for bringing this to the floor, and I would like to be a part of this.
Thank you. Councilmember Wright.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
So would I.
Thank you. Councilmember Harley.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This is a good piece of legislation, and I do remember the number of people that, wanted to see how we could move the needle without changing the policy, without relaxing the policy. But one thing that I wanted to mention is that since then, I have been doing some research and talking to different individuals about how things have changed post-pandemic. For an example, you have a number of people that are deciding to start their own businesses, a number of people that are skilled that used to work for companies that have decided that they want a career change. So I think as we move forward with this task force, that we consider the fact that the city of Wilmington is only 70,000 people here, and we are losing talent. People are relocating. A number of people are moving to the city that don't necessarily have some of the skill sets that historically a number of people had living in the city. So I'm definitely one. I voted yes, to make sure we keep the residency, but at the same time, we have to also consider the times that we're living in, and most certainly post-pandemic, the world is different, the state is different, and the city is different. And so as the task force comes together, we want to consider, how we can get the data and get the feedback to make sure that we do have a healthy city, and we have competent individuals being able to fill positions that need to be filled. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm laughing because I think that was my argument initially when I was here, trying to make certain that people understood. But I actually am supportive of this resolution because I changed my vote, and I wanted to make certain that all of the people in the city of Wilmington had that opportunity. And if Chief of Staff Washington and Director Barnes are willing to spend their time and be on this task force to try to create that type of opportunity, then I'm all for it. So if you can add me as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
I think I forgot to make it clear. I want it to be added as a co-sponsor as well.
Thank you.
Make sure you have that noted.
And also Councilmember Harley would like to be added as a co-sponsor. And Oliver. And seeing no other hands raised, clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman White,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby. Councilwoman Darby. Excuse me? Councilwoman Darby.
Do you hear me?
No, we did not. Is your vote yes or no?
We can come back.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Field.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera.
Yes.
Councilman Mills.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy.
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby.
Yes.
Thank you. President Congo.
Yes.
12 yeas and 1 absent.
Declared adopted.
I have another, Mr. President, I have another resolution to present.
Resolution 24041, Agenda 0453. Whereas East Lake Park is located at the intersection of North Madison Street and 30th Street in the 19802 neighborhood. Constructed in 1939, the park features East Lake playground, basketball courts, a sitting area, and common space for residents and visitors.
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second the resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by yea or nay vote on the question.
Yeah, so this resolution is just kind of updating the community and just making our council members aware and the community aware that East Lake Park, 30th Street Park, as I grew up knowing it, I didn't know it was called East Lake until I became a city council person. But as we know it, 30th Street Park needs a lot of TLC and development and has been a park that has been low on the list. And I know prior to me going on city council, there was a resolution where the state, where President Congo was the council person before me, where the city received money for development for East Lake 30th Street Park. So with that funds, I'm hoping that in conjunction with the 76ers field house, who will give, who I'm hoping will do the basketball court, Kaboom will do the playground, and we can have other partnerships. I hope that the administration sticks to this plan because since I've been on city council for 4 years, I have been begging for development for 30th Street Park. I've been asking for it in each budget hearing. I have been advocating for 30th Street, and it's finally a lot of opportunity happening around it. And I just hope that the administration takes this serious and jumps on these opportunities for 30th Street, East Lake Park, to get the development that it needs. So I am just asking for my colleagues' support because the community needs a better park on 30th Street, and they have been asking for it for a long time. And over the last 4 years of me being a city council person, I've been advocating for it and pushing for it, and we're finally at a point where there is a plan in place, and I hope that the administration is willing to go with this plan and make this and implement this at 30th Street Park. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor, please. And seeing no other hands raised, Councilmember Harley.
Yes. Has there been a request for funding for this park, or are we just talking about a strategic plan, or both?
Councilmember Darby.
Yeah, I got the first part of your question. You said, has there been a request for funding? And when you asked for that request, a request from where?
Well, typically, when it comes to funding the capital projects, I know for the parks that are in my district, those are capital dollars, and they're.
Oh, yes, that has happened every year that I've been on city council, yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Seeing no other hands raised, Councilmember Darby, any closing comments?
No
Council
other
President,
closing
I have
comments.
my hand up.
Okay, Councilmember Brigida Fields.
Yes, thank you. The companies or the individuals that were named in the resolution, are they confirmed partners, or are you just asking them to be a part? Are they confirmed, or you're just hoping that they will become a part of whatever project you have over there at the East Lawn Lake?
They are
Councilmember Darby.
confirmed. They are confirmed. Kaboom has money from a local partner who wants to fund this project. I just need the administration to get on board. Like, the money is there. So.
No, I'm saying, is all of them or just Kaboom?
Oh, 76ers too, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other council members have any comments before we return back to the sponsor? If not, Councilmember Darby, any closing comments?
No other well, I guess I do this confirming again. These are all confirmed. They have funding and money. I just need the administration to get on board with it. I've been asking for 4 years in every single way to get this park funded. I'm just asking for the park to get done. So that's what this resolution is about.
Thank you. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman White,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy,
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes,
12 yeas and 1 absent.
declared adopted. Councilmember Oliver.
Yes, Mr. President, I have an ordinance present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 24-034, Agenda 0435, an ordinance to amend Chapter 11 of the City Code to revise the City of Wilmington pretreatment ordinance.
Mr. President, this ordinance amends the city code to be.
Councilmember Oliver, is there a substitute ordinance that you want to present?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
All right, thank you.
My fault.
Substitute number 1 to ordinance number 24034, revision 1 to agenda 0435, an ordinance to amend chapter 11 of the city code to revise the city of Wilmington pretreatment ordinance.
Okay, Mr. President, this substitute ordinance amends Article 5 of the Chapter 11 of the code to revise the city of Wilmington pretreatment ordinance. And
Councilmember Oliver, it just needs to be moved at this point, please, and then we can go to,
Did I do something?
Any,
Oh, God, I'm busy. My fault. Mr. President, I have the substitute to present in lieu of the ordinance.
Which I read.
yes, it just needs to be moved. If you can just move it, and then we can second it, Councilmember.
Okay. So that we move it in second?
No, you have to move.
Oh, okay,
If you move
I got you, I'm sorry. Mr. President, I'd like to move the substitute ordinance amended at Chapter 11 City Code, reverse the City of Wilmington pretreatment ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been properly moved in second, that be known as the enacting clause of the substitute ordinance. And call for a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes, Mr. President. Substitute ordinance amends the Chapter 5 of Chapter 11 of the City Code to reverse the City of Wilmington pretreatment ordinance to incorporate the updated approval local limits as required by the EPA. I move the details of local limits of the program fees amends the facility figure update. Finally, as a housekeeping matter, the substitute ordinance replaces a certain written numbers of consistency. This substitute ordinance has no negative fiscal impact.
Thank you. See no hands raised from council members. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver?
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Field?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
Yes.
Councilman Mills?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy?
Yes.
President Congo?
Yes,
12 yeas and 1 absent.
declared adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 24042, Agenda 0454, whereas pursuant to Section 2363 of the City Code, City Council deem it necessary and proper to specify the requirements for review and approval of city-sponsored grant applications and proposal.
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed, adopted by a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second, the resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes, Mr. President, this resolution authorizes the Office of Economic Development grant application to Delaware Department of Nature Resources and Environmental Control for the Surface Water Matching Planning Grant in amount of $50,000. There is no negative impact to the city, although the grant requires a $50,000 local match. The matching fund will be sourced by previously budget funds.
Seeing no hands raised. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman White?
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver?
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Field?
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera?
Yes.
Councilman Mills?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy? Off the floor. President Congo?
Yes,
11 yeas and 2 absent.
declared adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 24043, Agenda 0455, whereas with the participation of an advisory committee of federal, state, local, and community stakeholders, the final report and recommendations of Safe Streets for All in Newcastle County have been issued, which commit to a goal of Vision Zero, a road safety philosophy which states that no loss of life due to traffic collisions is acceptable.
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed by yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second, the resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by a yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes, this resolution authorizes the Department of Public Works grant application to United States Department of Transportation in an amount of $200,000. The proposed grant funds will be used to support the development of safe streets for all action plans for the city. There is no negative impact to the city, although the grant requires $50,000 local match. The matching funds will be sourced by previous budgets funds.
And seeing no hands raised from council members, clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman White,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Field.
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera.
Yes.
Councilman Mills.
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy. President Congo.
Yes,
11 yeas and 2 absent.
declared adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 24044, Agenda 0456, whereas pursuant to Section 2363 of the City Code, City Council deem it necessary and proper to specify requirements for review and approval of city-sponsored grant applications and proposals.
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed by yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. The resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by yea or nay vote on the question.
Yes, Mr. President, I'm really impressed with this resolution. It authorizes Department of Public Works to accept a grant from Delaware Department of Labor, Division of Employment and Training, an amount of $40,000. This grant will be used to support training for new city employees, current city employees who are promoted in higher pay grade, and no matching funds are available. This will help some of the, hopefully some of the guys in public work who's trying to receive their CDL license or trying to take some classes to move up to do some, learn how to do the street cleaning and other jobs over there, other different positions, but it's free money from Department of Labor.
All right, thank you. I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. Councilmember McCoy, followed by Councilmember Harley.
Yes, I just want to be added as a co-sponsor.
Councilmember Harley.
Yes, I would like to be added as a co-sponsor too. Thank you.
And seeing no Councilmember White.
Mr. President, may I ask the sponsor a question?
Sure.
Yes.
Madam Sponsor, is there a detailed plan on what this training would be used, these training dollars would be used for? You mentioned a couple, but is that in the grant itself?
No, in the grant, it just says it's for training, for additional training for Public Works, but speaking to Mr. Akbar, when he came to the committee, he said that's what some of it would be for, so it's for Public Works, for them to do some training.
Mr. President, may I follow up?
Yes.
Madam Sponsor, would it be appropriate at some time to get a program scope of how the monies would be used?
Oh, sure,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Harley.
Oh, yes, I was just thinking that it clearly says that it's going to be used to support training of new city employees as it relates to the Department of Public Works and current city employees who are promoted to a higher pay grade. So I thought that sort of underscored what it's going to be used for the council member, but just sharing.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
And seeing no other hands raised.
I have my hand raised, Council President.
Thank
I
you,
would like
Ca-
to be added as a co-sponsor.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands raised, Councilmember Oliver, any closing comments?
No, I did want to mention that, you know, when he was in the committee room, he did mention that, as Councilman Hart said, so this is, I think it's really good because it's going to assist with hiring new individuals to work over Public Works that sometimes you don't, you know, so we should see some additional jobs on the board for some local people.
Okay,
So
come
I
on,
was
let's get it, let's
impressed with
get it. I need some eating.
That's all.
Council members who are virtual, please mute your microphones. And clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman White,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy, still off. President Congo.
Yes.
11 yeas and 2 absent.
Declared adopted. Councilmember Harley.
Yes, Mr. President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 24045, Agenda 0457, whereas pursuant to Section 2363 of the City Code, City Council deem it necessary and proper to specify the requirements for review and approval of city-sponsored grant applications and
I move
proposals.
this resolution be received, recorded, and filed, and adopted by a yea and a vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second the resolution be received, recorded, filed, and adopted by a yea and a vote on the question.
Oh, yes, Mr. President. This resolution basically is authorizing the Department of Public Works grant application to receive the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in the amount of $333,558. This grant is going to be used to support the city's planning project to produce designs for the restoration and enhancement of 12.7 acres of degraded wetland habitat along the Christina River in the Southbridge community. And for those that don't know, the wetlands project has been ongoing for, I want to say, at least 15 plus years. And over time, you have different administrations. Some are more committed to giving the dollars than others for different reasons, for various reasons. So Southbridge or the South Wilmington community have been considered a flood zone for over 50 years. So all these different grants and dollars that we're able to be awarded is really helping the community as it relates to flooding. There has been major progress made over in South Wilmington in the wetlands area, but there is still more work to be done because there's a whole nother section of Southbridge that needs pipes to be removed and replaced underground to really address the flooding. Right now, we have a slightly like a mitigated process in place, but these funds here will help to continue to move the needle forward as it relates to the wetlands project. And there's no negative fiscal impact to the city, and there's no local matching funds required.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliver.
Yes, this too is a good piece of legislation, just to see that, just to know that, you always hear about the river, Christiana River, but just to see that Southbridge is getting its dues that's overdue. And I know, talked to Councilman Harley, and, they're doing a lot of good work over Southbridge. So I'm glad that Southbridge community is not being forgotten in this grant. Good job.
Thank you. And seeing no hands raised from any other council members, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman White,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby, Councilwoman Darby, Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy,
Yes.
President Congo.
Yes.
11 yeas and 2 absent.
Declared adopted.
Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the first and second reading.
Ordinance 24038, Agenda 0458, an ordinance to amend Chapter 40 of the City Code regarding salary steps, pay adjustments for promotions, voluntary demotions, starting salaries, combined leave payout, and eligibility for city-sponsored benefits.
First reading of the ordinance.
An ordinance to amend Chapter 40 of the City Code regarding salary steps, pay adjustments for promotions, voluntary demotions, starting salaries, combined leave payout, and eligibility for city-sponsored benefits.
Second reading of the ordinance.
Mr. President, I move that it be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer it to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that be known as the first and second reading of the ordinance and refer to the Finance and Economic Development Committee.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Cabrera.
Yes, Mr. President, I have an ordinance to present and call for the third and final reading.
Ordinance 24037, Agenda 0441, an ordinance to amend Chapter 4 of the City Code relating to the registration of vacant properties.
Mr. President, I move that that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance and call for the yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second, that be known as the enacting clause of the ordinance, and called for a yea or nay vote on the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. This legislation hopes to incentivize owners of longstanding vacant properties to get motivated to do something, to occupy or repurpose the property. Right now, the consequences of the fines are too low, and we see a period of 8 to 10 years before the fines escalate to a point that the owners, mainly LLCs, are motivated to do something about it. Either you live in it, rent it, sell it, you have to repurpose it. It cannot remain vacant, adding blight to the neighborhoods. Crime is notably higher in neighborhoods that have the highest amount of vacants. If vacants were maintained, it wouldn't be a problem. In fact, no one would even know that that's a vacant property. If they have running water, electric, the grounds are kept up, no one complains, it goes unnoticed. I know of a few of these, and I'm not gonna report them, but nobody lives there, but they maintain the property. They don't create a problem. I'd rather see someone living in these homes, and they're not a nuisance. We have an issue in the city of Wilmington right now where folks need a place to live. We need housing. We need affordable housing. When these properties are repurposed, as we have seen successfully with the land bank, depending on the neighborhood, some of them go to affordable housing. We partner with programs such as Habitat for Humanity, Woodlawn and Associates. Woodlawn Associates, they're all rental. We see a lot of the work that's being done on the east side now. In the lower hilltop, we're focusing on increasing home ownership. So those homes that go to the land bank are being put on the market and being sold. And we're seeing a transformation in the neighborhoods that have been able to repurpose these homes. Right now, we have 1,500 vacant properties in the city of Wilmington. And it's people in the neighborhoods that live where there is a vacant and blight that complain to us about why aren't we doing something about it. And what people don't realize is the city can't just come in and take somebody's property. There has to be levels and steps in order to make sure that everyone is being given that opportunity to do something with a property that they own. Some of them are inherited, some of them have tangled titles. So we are changing things around to make it a little bit more user-friendly, as well as to increase the fines. So a couple highlights of this. It will include commercial properties now. It won't be just residential private properties. Commercial properties and buildings that are left vacant for an extended period of time will also be subject to the fines. It defines vacant to include commercial buildings. It establishes a program allowing delinquent registration fees to be voided if the owner obtains a certificate of occupancy or certificate of completion within 1 year. It lengthens the time period for triggering the requirement to register a building from 45 days. You now have up to 6 months before you have to register. It also provides for 2 one-year extensions to the exemption from vacant registration fees for properties that are deemed occupancy ready. So this gives time for people to work out any issues that they might have with tangled deeds, wills, families, not wanting to sell. And one of the things that we've discovered is that sometimes people want to hold on to the property, even though there are no family members that want to live in the property, because it was the first home that grandmom bought. So one of the things that's going to accompany that I'm planning to do and introduce with the support of this council is to start the Legacy Home Program, where we can document the people that lived in those homes and put a placard on the property and incentivize the family members to sell the home, but yet their family member will be remembered. When they drive by, they can see that that's where grandmom lived, that's where I grew up, because some of it is an emotional attachment, as many people have with things that they own. So with this said, this provides individuals who purchase a vacant property directly from the Wilmington Neighborhood Conservancy Land Bank, that the vacant registration fees will be based during the vacancy from the time they receive the building, not prior to any vacant time. So they will not be inheriting that. And it also provides a $50 filing fee for an appeal that will be refunded if the appeal is successful. So I see this as another way to add another tool in our toolbox to stabilize our Wilmington neighborhoods. We've seen the impact in the lower Hilltop area, on the east side, in the Hilltop area in general, with homes that have been repurposed that are now being resided in. Crime has decreased and the neighbors are ecstatic. So we feel that this is going to work. What we have now isn't working because it's just not coming down hard enough. When I looked at the property, the vacant property list, I will also note that the majority of them are LLCs, people who buy properties very inexpensive in the city of Wilmington and as an investment, and then they do nothing. They're just waiting to see if the property values go up or trying to figure something out, and they are from out of town. So this is not one to penalize people that are local. Like I said, if they're holding on to it because it's a legacy home, then we will do something to honor the fact that grandma bought that house. It was the first house in the family. We will work with people who are having challenges with deeds and things of that nature. So it's not to penalize them, but it is to incentivize that we repurpose and that we have people living in these structures. That's it. Any questions? I will entertain from our council colleagues.
Thank you, Councilmember Oliver, followed by Councilmember McCord.
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions. I just have a couple statements I'd like to make. One of the reasons I'm going to be voting present on this is because I haven't had a chance to really talk to the sponsor of this in depth. It's a lot going on with this bill. I remember something similar. I'm not saying I don't think it's a bad bill. I think there's some good things in here. But I remember when we were talking about this before, and the gentleman came from the 1st District who stated that that was his aunt's house. It is vacant. He has a guy who comes and mow the lawn. The light come on at nighttime. You wouldn't even know it was vacant. And when his nephew gets out of school, out of Morgan, he will be moving in the house. That was maybe about 2 years ago. So I don't know if he's in the house or not now. But to penalize a person whose house is nothing wrong, I don't even want to, someone just sitting right in his room who had an aunt whose house it was nothing wrong. It was just sitting there, and it was vacant, but it was nothing wrong on the inside of the house or the outside, besides maybe every now and then get the grass. And then the only thing that comes to mind with me is just say, I'm going to use President Congo, for example. He may have a house that he goes and stay every now and then, and just because he doesn't live there, so it's vacant for a year, but he goes every once in a while, and we're going to penalize people like that. So that's where I'm just a little confused with this bill. So some other good things. I'm just using you. I know you own a
So
couple
for the
houses.
record, I do not have a house.
I didn't mean to throw you.
Thank-
I just use your name. I'm sorry.
Come on.
I just use his name. But I'm just saying in general, so it's just a couple of things that I'm just a little confused with. So I'm not saying it's a bad bill, but there's some things in there that's not totally clear with me. So I'm not saying it's a bad bill, but I'm gonna just vote present on that because I'm not really clear of it. It just sounds like it's a lot going on with it. So I'm gonna just leave it right where it is.
Thank you, Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I actually did have a question, and my question is more so when it came to commercial properties and such. So I guess my question is when the vacant fees, when it comes to commercial properties, if we are actually seeing where we keep hearing so often that the process, bureaucracy and everything is slow when it comes to getting permits, getting DEMREC, this, that, and the other. How does that work? Will they still be required to pay the vacant fee if the process is actually slower than they assumed when it came to actually getting a property together to start doing the real work in the inside? I just wanted to try to get clarity on that one because I think we did have a conversation, and that was one of the things that I forgot to ask.
Councilmember Cabrera, did you want to address that now or during your closing comments? It's up
I
to you.
mean, I can go ahead and answer some of these questions. So,
Okay.
First, let me address Councilwoman Oliver's a very valid example that she gave. And as I mentioned in my comments, I personally know of several unoccupied homes that one would say that they're vacant. However, the neighbors haven't complained. You don't have squatters. You don't have any problems or issues. The owners keep the electric on, the water running, and the grounds are kept clean. You would never know that it's a vacant property. I personally believe that the city really doesn't care if that property is vacant because it's being maintained. The whole purpose of this legislation really is to keep the blighted homes and to repurpose the homes that are just sitting there falling apart, bringing problems to the neighborhood. So that's not an issue because some people do travel and their properties are vacant. As you see here now, going to Councilwoman McCoy's comment, you have 6 months to register a property. So you get 6 months there. You have a year, and you do not get hit with a fine until you have 2 years. So basically, the first fine is $500, and you have 2 years. So anyone doing work or trying to do something with that property, you really have up to 2 years to get everything in order. You can request 2 one-year extensions. So if you show that in good faith you're really trying to repurpose the property, you have 2 more years that the property can be vacant before you have to pay a fee. So people, you got 3.5 years to get it together. And I think that's fair.
Thank you. Council Member Johnson, since you haven't spoken yet. Followed by Council Member White.
I am aware, this has been an ongoing debate, I think, as Councilmember Oliver said, for many years. And I guess I do have a question about how we're looking at other ways, and this is more for the sponsor, and really pointing to administration, even state officials, because, we can increase fines. Certainly that makes sense, okay? But we have to look at what the reaction is. So a rational actor, are they going to continue to bill fines, or are they actually going to correct their behavior? So I think we have to look at, I know eminent domain, other issues were looked at. I think we got to look at that sharp tool of how to get these properties out rather than just keep raising fees, because I think there is a valid point that continuing to raise fees might not necessarily change the behavior. If we have absent landlords, people that are out of state, they don't care unless that house is getting put up for sale or the city can come and take it. So, it is some questions about how behavior will change. I certainly encourage additional tools, but we really got to look at this additional tool of actually being able to take it out of these, I guess I call them dirty LLCs at this point, whoever they are. They're just owning these properties all over the city, and we can't do anything. And I got places on 2nd Street like that, 4th Street, we got properties like that. The city is full of these commercial properties. So that is, I think, a lot of the problem, but again, hopefully we can address that down the road, but we need to be looking at that as well.
Councilmember White, followed by Councilmember Darby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't think, colleagues, this is boogeyman legislation. If you talk to any of your constituents at any time in the various meetings that we attend, and when they ask you the quality of life issues, it is vacant property in and around their community. No doubt about it. I brought this legislation up in the first, and they are for it because they do not want this blight in their neighborhoods. Now, there seems to be a question of what qualifies as a vacant. To my colleague to my left, in the legislation, it says that, and I'm not going to read it all, but it says that a property, if it's receiving mail, right? If it's receiving mail, regular receipt of mail, proof of continued service, electric, blah, 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 then it's not vacant. This is not boogeyman legislation. There is property on Canal Street. There is a house on Canal Street that is deteriorating from the inside out. There is a homeowner to the left and there's a homeowner to the right. That families have to live with this blight. Now you may say, well, it's not going to change the behavior. That might be it. This may be the first spear into the belly of the well. But this administration, this increase comes out to 2.8 cents per day, $2.08 per day, an additional cost to the property. I talked to my colleague earlier, and in committee, I don't think it's high enough. I don't think the deterrent's high enough. Now, there are people who say this somehow drains the community of its resources, and I'm trying to find out how. I work in this field every day, and for clear, so there's no presumption of conflict, this is going to affect my business. I have no issue with it, other than it's not high enough. An additional cost, $2.08 a day to maintain a property in our city is appalling. Now, to my colleague, Mr. Johnson, maybe it's not. It's a tool. It's a tool that we've long ignored. But if you go to your constituents and you ask them, what are the problematic issues? It is vacant properties and blighted properties. This legislation takes a stab at it. What, we're going to do nothing? And so for those who don't think that the needle's being moved when it comes to vacant properties, in year 2024, and I'm going to wrap this up, Mr. President, I see you looking at me. 75 long-term vacants will be brought onto the market, 24 to date this year. So I'm going to urge my colleagues to vote for this and then look to do more if this $2.08 per day additional fee is not enough. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Darby, followed by Councilmember Mills.
Yes, so over the last few years, City Council has been through talking about fees and fines, right? So we had a fees and fines task force that looked at fees and fines. We had a fees and fines national program that gave us a grant and had researchers from top universities come and look at the city of Wilmington. And they told us that we had an issue with using fees and fines as a tool. So somebody used the word a tool, and using fines is not a tool that you use to address issues like vacant properties, right? So I don't think anyone is arguing that vacant properties isn't an issue. I think all 13 of us can agree with that, right? That vacant properties are an issue. I think the issue is the tool, right? As you mentioned. And the tool is not fees and fines. And then you ask, do nothing. No, like the Fees and Fines Justice Center, all of these programs, there's research that you can Google that shows what you can do to address vacant properties. So I think it's really important. It's like, and we ask, the question is, do nothing. No, why don't we create programs that help people have the resources to bring vacant properties back into use instead of feeing and fining owners who may want to renovate their properties but lack the resources, right? So why don't we, as a city council, create programs that help them get the properties up to par? The majority of people, because there's always people who take advantage of systems, there's always people who do that, right? We have that. The majority of people, and I think the majority of Wilmingtonians, the majority of people who are in Wilmington, are good people who sometimes just don't have the resources, don't have the tools to be able to renovate a home, right? I'm a homeowner. I'm fairly decent in income. And if something happens to my home today, I will struggle to get my home fixed, right? So like, I am a regular average working class person in my neighborhood. So I know that we think most of these landlords are big time landlords. We'll get breaks to BP&G. Y'all, everyone will be quiet on that. But when we talk about these small-time landlords who are struggling, these landlords are vacant property owners who are homeowners. These are regular people. These landlords and these other people who may own these properties, who are either homeowners or who are using it to rent out and just is sitting there vacant. These are regular everyday people, and we want to hold them accountable and put all these fees and fines on them, but we don't. We give slaps on the wrist to these big developers. So I'm a no on this because I think we could do better as a city council and come up with more progressive ways, more ways that actually solves the problem instead of just trying to keep collecting fees and fines from people. So I'm voting no on an increase at all until we come up with programs that actually helps people who need the help before we even go to increasing anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Mills, followed
Yes,
by
thank you, Mr.
Councilmember
President.
Bracy, who hasn't spoken yet. And
Yes, agreeing with the sponsor, definitely it's a big need. Over 1,500 vacants is a lot for our city. As Councilman White stated, it's one of the number one complaints that we hear from the constituents, these vacant properties. And again, this is just a way to try to address them, to get hold these homeowners accountable, to help decrease the number of vacants. So I will be in support, and I would like to be added to co-sponsor, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Bracy, followed by Councilmember McCoy.
Thank you. Councilwoman Cabrera, well, I have one question, and I think I know the answer, but I just want to get you on the record to say this or clarify this for me. Regular people or LLCs, there's 1,500 vacants. What is the majority of them? Are they, is this LLCs? Because what I'm under the impression, or what I thought was happening, or what I've been hearing, or what we've been talking about, is the fact that there are these companies that buy vacants and they're waiting for the property value to go up. And so they don't care how much it is, because they'll just pay the fee. And if it's $5,000, they'll just keep paying it. If it's $10,000, they just pay it because they don't care, because they're just holding that property for the value, so that when BPG or whatever developer comes to buy up a block, they get the best. Say they bought it at auction for $5,000, they hold it, and they don't care because it's in an LLC. They just pay whatever they got to pay, their vacant property fee. So are we talking about that, or are we talking about grandma and papa passed away, and somebody's holding the house, and we're not we're not giving them an opportunity to get the assistance that they need to hold on to the house or renovate? I just want to make sure that we're very clear on that. I think there are two different conversations happening. One is about the family that needs the assistance, and they have now 3.5 years if it isn't a tangle deed or whatever the case may be. But the problem is the LLCs, the companies that are holding on to these houses, that are holding on to property and aren't doing anything, and it's just a mess in our city. Now, is that what we're like? I just want to make sure, because I think we can do both. I think there's solutions that need to be developed, as Councilwoman Darby said, to help those families that want to save their home. But I also think we need to be addressing what I think is the prevalent problem. But I want to make sure that I'm understanding what's actually happening.
I'll answer that at this
Councilmember
point.
Cabrera.
Thank you. So that was going to be in my closing points. I pulled up the list, and now unfortunately I didn't have an exact total on there, but it's 1,500 or more or less, probably a few less now.
Yeah.
When I looked at all the names, LLCs, I saw maybe 24 that looked like they were personal names, and some of them might still be businesses because those names were repeated, so you can know that they own more than one property. So these are businesses. They come in, they buy up the block 2, 3 at a time, hold on to it. The legislation as it is currently today, it's very affordable because those companies can't afford to pay the fines. The reason we're going up in fines is to make it unaffordable. So at one point, are you going to keep paying $10,000 for properties when it gets up to that point? And this legislation also includes the office buildings because they're sitting around vacant as well. And where there is vacancies, there is blight. So this isn't a home that you lived in and now it's vacant because you couldn't afford to fix it. These are properties that are vacant, have been vacant. Some of them is because someone, family member may have died, passed it along, and the family doesn't know what to do with it. Some of it is emotional. They want to hold on to it because they can easily rent it out. I mean, we have a market right now where people are looking for homes. People can make money on these homes. Now, if the concern is that someone can't sell the property or they can't afford to fix it, why aren't we doing more to help them do that? Well, I know that the lottery that we have, you got to be actually living in the home, so it's not for a vacant property. I know that the city does have a facade program, and they have multiple programs to help people with resources to fix their properties. And in conversation with this administration, which the mayor said, I promise you on the way out, we're going to do this. We're going to establish a fund where homeowners, instead of you waiting to see if you're lucky enough to get your name pulled out of a lottery to fix your roof, where a homeowner can actually borrow this money, simple interest loans. If you are under a certain income level, you don't have to pay it back. It'll be a grant. And if you're over, a senior, 65 and older, you don't have to pay it back. So that those resources can be used for you to stay in your home so it does not become a vacant. So we are looking further ahead on how to keep people and keep their homes and their legacy homes in their family and at least recognize what is the real reason that the properties are vacant? So we're not displacing anyone. These properties have been sitting vacant. You got 3 years that you don't have to pay fees to do something with the property. This is a buyer's market. There are homes selling for $200,000 in the lower Hilltop. Sell the house. The land bank has been buying homes. They don't have to be falling apart for us to buy them. We'll buy the home, do whatever commercial fix-ups they need, and put it on the market for someone to purchase. So to answer that question.
Thank you. Councilmember McCoy, followed by Councilmember Brigida Fields.
Okay, thank you. Actually, I think that Councilwoman Cabrera had answered most of the questions I had, but I was definitely more so about the commercial properties, because I agree with Councilman White when it comes to our biggest complaints that we have in our neighborhoods. It is the vacant homes where they're loitering, where they're breaking in. They're all, it's not even just raccoons, whatever. It's actually people squatter. I've actually had so many issues with people squatting and tearing up a house that they're trying to put for sale. People just breaking in houses like they have it on for sale. You're afraid to put a sign out anymore to state that you're trying to sell your house. So I get it. But I'm talking about those properties that we've actually seen for years that have sat, these commercial properties, whether or not there's a plan put in place, because I've actually seen a plan, or whether or not, I just need to find out how long is too long if you want to see something actually happens. That 3-year window sounds great, but if you're looking at something, a really big project, I don't know what that looks like. But when it comes to, regular, the houses falling apart on the corners, I get it.
Thank you, Councilmember Brigida Fields, followed by Councilmember Oliver for her second round.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I guess when I looked at the list that Councilwoman Cabrera is talking about, it was mostly LLCs, and then if it was a name, it was a name, but it had like three houses after that. So let me just give you an example. So a non-funked 501c3 has properties in West Center City, and they continue to pay the taxes and the fees and the fines. However, now it is to a point where people are breaking into these houses in the back of them to stay in there, which is affecting those neighbors that actually own homes, not rentals, but own homes. So I get a call every day, if not every day, every other day, because of these houses that haven't been taken care of. People are just paying for them and just leaving them there. So I understand where everybody's coming from, and I definitely get where nobody's living in the house, but the water's running and the electric on. That's not vacant. So I don't even see why that would even be on somebody's list or why they will be looking at it. That's just my analogy. I'm thinking vacant. Nobody's living there. Windows cracked, roof falling off, porches not work. Nothing is running. Nothing is running in the house. So I mean, I just I have those issues in my district. Not just homes, but I have businesses as well that have been there for years. That haven't been taken care of. And yes, you do have these out-of-state investors that come, and it's not the in-state investors that come and buy up a block. It's the out-of-state investors that come buy up blocks that see the city of Wilmington. You can have an LLC and you can buy these houses at a cheaper price than you could in Philly, New Jersey, New York, and any other surrounding state. So it's those individuals that come buy up the blocks, and then it's hard. Then they wait until the property value goes up on these houses for them to do some work. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. Like, we got to start looking at the names and start looking at these addresses, so that we don't say, okay, it's a mom and a pop house, or my auntie or my mom's house. So I don't know. It's just like, I think it's a good piece of legislation because we need to start looking at these LLCs and hold them accountable. and what that looks like. I mean, if it's far as raising the fees right now, but I think it should be a little bit more, like Councilman White said. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Oliver, followed by Councilmember White for their second rounds.
Thank you, Mr. President. Once again, I think this is a good piece of legislation, but I think it should be two pieces of legislation. This is just my opinion. I think, to me, we mix in, like you're saying, you talk about the LLCs, but then you're saying if it's 24 of them that probably could be mom and pops, maybe it's 50 of them. I think the land bank is doing a great job. I can't knock nothing they're doing on the east side. My problem is they done knocked down all the vacant houses, so I have all the homeless people just laying on people's steps. They're, rebuilding the neighborhoods is looking good. I can't say nothing bad about the land bank. I'm just saying this particular legislation, I don't care if it's 35 or 40 of them, that's mom and pops. It should be a separate, my opinion, piece of legislation, because I don't want to affect the 50 or the 24 individuals who can't afford to fix up their homes. So if it's 100 LLCs or whatever, I think it should just be two pieces of legislation. I just think we just mixing too much in there. Sometimes we get into these housing legislation and we just, lose our minds. I'm thinking about Miss LaFate, who's called me, who owns the store, and she's having problems with her property, and she can't even get no help because she wasn't picked in the lottery. So Ms. LaFate could be included in this. So she's my constituent. I'm not gonna pick on her. That should be a separate piece of legislation. Just my opinion. I'm just voting present.
Thank you. Councilmember White.
Can I just clarify real quick?
Not yet.
I got the mic.
Councilmember White, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll try to be quick, but I appreciate Councilwoman Darby's comments, and I agree that there should be assistance, but there is assistance. Delaware State Housing Authority passed 3 pieces of policy: Catalyst Acceleration Fund for individuals looking to do renovation. Jumpstart Wilmington by Sinair has put out 3 cohorts of nascent developers to do what? To repair and replace these vacant houses. But let's go a step further. If an individual who is qualified can apply for 203 203B FHA loan, which is acquisition and rehab monies, if they qualify. So again, I believe that there are tools in place, and I know, Councilwoman Darby, you don't like that word, but I know there's tools in place to help that nascent homeowner renovate their properties if they are qualified. The city has money. Now, this council, 4 months ago, passed an extension for the Downtown Development District. With that comes dollars to renovate your properties. And in this case, we have extended it from 16th Street Bridge to 32nd, both sides. It's not just retail. It's not just for the big boys. It is for individual homeowners, for renovation costs. Now, also, before I became a part of this illustrious group, you guys passed the nuisance vacant property law. We should be asking at some point, Mr. President and my colleagues, why is not that law being enforced as the way it was passed? That's the other question my residents ask. We have a nuisance vacant property or nuisance property law. We need to ask the administration why that's not being enforced. So it gets back to my colleague's Field's question about that property on her block, who has now, I know probably, and I'm being presumptuous, received 7 calls, which triggers the nuisance property law. Why has that not been resolved? So I think, I agree with my colleague, Councilwoman Oliver. This legislation, we're breathing more in it than what it does. The sponsor has done her due diligence. This was in committee meeting. The sponsor has done their due diligence on this. If you want to make it a boogeyman legislation, then so be it. But that's not the intent. We're not going to solve all the problems tonight, but I think it is the right step, and it is a step that is needed, coupled with some other issues, other things that can be done a little bit later on. So I'm sorry, Mr. President, I don't mean to take up too much time, but that's into my colleagues.
You're fine. Councilmember Harley, followed by Councilmember Darby for her second round.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So the legislation is to address what the majority of most of our communities have been complaining about. Okay, so we know for a fact that no legislation is for everything and 100%. But when you look at 1,500 vacancies, and the council member mentioned that there was, what, 24, we're talking about 1.6% of 1,500, okay? And so when you look at that small number, number one, we're talking about vacancies. Like, I've been hearing people mention people living in their homes. We're not talking about nobody living in a property right now. We're simply only talking about vacancies. And I know in my particular district, especially one of my communities, they have been complaining about it. Matter of fact, they're even going to get a committee to start, really trying to figure out how they can get in touch with some of these property owners to fix up these properties. So, as the council member White said, we have programs. If someone owns a property, a residential property, not an LLC, there are programs for them to fix up their properties. So we're not excluding them as it relates to they're not going to be able to, what are they going to do? They're going to be find out, feed out. Well, they can do something. There's a consequence for everything. So are we saying for the 1.6 percentage, we should say, okay, hey, well, let's just see what happens, and then just totally ignore the LLCs, those that live out of state, just not caring about these properties, they're going down. And then the other thing is that it lowers the property value for other homeowners. So when you look at this legislation, it's not just dealing with residential, but it's definitely dealing with commercial. And not only that, if someone feels as though there is a better way to do this, I will be more than happy to support that legislation if they want to bring back legislation that says, hey, we came up with a better way to address this issue. That's part of the problem. When legislation gets on this agenda, we talk about we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't fine, we shouldn't, but what is the alternative? So I'm going to support it because right now there is no other alternative that's being presented other than them reaching out to real estate and housing to get a loan, to reach out to Delaware Housing. There's many programs for residential constituents to get a vacant house repaired and renovated. My only issue with this legislation is that I don't feel as though if a property owner is keeping their property up, well maintained, it's not blighted, it's no issues, no problems, I don't feel as though they should be penalized the same way a property that is blighted and falling apart and not being maintained. Now, that's the only issue that I really have with this legislation. I just, in my mind, don't feel as though that's right to penalize that property owner that's keeping up their property and it's not causing an issue with the neighborhood. And if there was any way that we could carve that out, I would be very happy. Because if we're talking about blight and we're talking about bringing down property values and getting rid of the bad actors, they're not the bad actors. So that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Darby.
Yes, no, thank you. So I just wanted to just again address that a tool for vacant properties isn't more fees and fines. Fees and fines do not fix behavior. Fees and fines do not increase compliance. So we can, tonight it's going to pass, right? There's enough votes for it to pass, but what you're going to see is going to pass, and you're going to continue to see the same amount of vacancies, and even more based on the way that our economy is going. you're not going to see more compliance because now I'm charging you more. Like it's just, that's not how it works. Like that, like I'm not making it up. You can read it. Like that's just not how fees and fines work. It's not going to increase compliance. It's not going to fix behavior. It's not going to make them. So that's why I think it's important we focus on it. And then we talk about the funding available. So I just want to don't mislead the community, because I did the accelerator and jumpstart program. I asked for those monies in those programs, and I did those things, and they don't address what you're talking about at all. And then if you don't qualify as someone who didn't at one point in time, I did not have access to those funds. And the only reason I knew of those funds and knew they existed is because of my connections and networks, right? So when I talk to someone about Jumpstart Wilmington, because I'm a graduate, right? A lot of people don't even know what I'm talking about in my community, right? But the only reason I know about it is because of my connections and the networks I have made. So when we talk about these funds and what's available, we have to be sensitive that there's a lot of people out here who, one, don't have access to it, don't have the opportunity for it, and a lot of them don't qualify. So just like, oh, it's all this money out here, when it's not true, because I've been in positions where I tried to seek money, get money, been a part of these programs, and still didn't qualify. So I just want to make that very clear. And that we got to get the information out to the community, and that is really important, not to use fees and fines as a tool to try to make someone being in compliance, and it doesn't fix behavior. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we return to the sponsor, I do have one question that I would like you to address as far as the commercial properties. So I'll just give an example of DETV, who recently moved out of their location on Lancaster Avenue. So for that commercial property, if that owner does not find someone else to rent that space, would that be considered vacant and they would start being fined? I'm not sure if you can address that, please. But because if that's true, I do think that's unfair, and that's an unintended consequence. And somebody kind of hit the nail on the head when they said the city is not enforcing the nuisance property or laws, and I think that's where we should begin. I do see the intent of this legislation, but I think so many people are going to be hurt by it, just as Councilmember Harley just said. People who are keeping up with the properties but just don't have anyone living in them are going to suffer under this legislation. And so with that, I won't be supporting. I do think that it could be a good piece, but there's just too much in it that people who are not who are responsible landlords and who are responsible owners will get hurt. So I can't support this. And final comment by our sponsor, Cabrera. Councilmember Cabrera.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me just address the nuisance comment that was made. With the nuisance points in the law, the way that it's written, you have to achieve those nuisance points within 1 year in order to shut down either a property, whether it's a landlord renting out, or a business. The nuisance points do not apply to actual property owners. Like if I own my house, you can't take away my property because of nuisance points. And what happens is if you got a nuisance point, let's say in November, and now by the time you get to the 12 points, we're already, November drops off because you haven't gotten to those 12 points. You might have 9 points, and then they start dropping off. So that's why, and I think we need to really clarify that to our constituents, that it has to be in that 1 year period of time. So most people, you're not going to find them getting points every month. And some do get shut down. We've seen some liquor stores, some businesses that have been shut down in the 5th District. I believe 8th and Monroe has gotten shut down. But it is a cumulative, and the points have to be condensed within that 1 year, and they do fall off from the time that you get the nuisance. So that's answers that question. And the question that the president asked, that is a good question. Now, that particular spot is in a mall that has other businesses, so the owners does have occupied businesses there. It's not a standalone business. So I'll get clarification on that. But again, if a person is having a hard time leasing, selling, or doing something with that property, they can apply for the extension. So when you really look at the total of this, you do have 3.5 years that you can have that property and try to fill it before you have to pay a fine. So there is time being allotted. That has been taken into consideration. So the council member Harley, the comment that you made, I'll go back again to what I had said. Maybe we do need to codify it and carve it out to say that if the property is maintained and it is not a nuisance or creates blight, that they shouldn't be subjected to the fines. Recently, I was walking a neighborhood where they were, just with people showing me some improvements, and they said, oh, you see this house here? So-and-so owns this house, but she lives in a retirement home. She's an elderly lady. 20 years the property has been vacant, 20. But guess what? The grass is cut, the electric's on, the water's running. That property is not a problem in that neighborhood, and not one of their neighbors are going to call and report that that property is vacant. But I understand the concerns of council that it's not codified, so maybe that's something that we can add as an amendment to look at that. I will agree with my council colleagues. I felt that the fees should have been higher, but the administration felt that they didn't want to jump up that high. They wanted to go a little lower. So that's fine. This is the compromise that we came up with. And if the resources exist, we are going to introduce something where people can actually get additional help. So in closing, when I ran this time around, I vowed that I would be working on neighborhood stabilization, and overcoming the blight in our neighborhoods is part of that. So I'm really happy to support this, and I'm glad that we're getting aggressive because it is going to work, and it does work. My first term on council, I'll close with this. I remember driving to the site of the first shooting, and then the second one, and the third one. And every shooting that took place in those 4 years when I served, I went to those properties. And what did I see? Within 100 to 300 feet, probably 95% of the shootings took place within a vacant property. Why? Because there's no one there, there's no eyes, there's no light, there's blight. And then, of course, the liquor stores and the corner stores. So I will say this, that as we're trying to combat the crime in our city, as we're trying to stabilize our neighborhoods, it is key that we repurpose these homes, that we have bodies and people living in them. I will give you 2 examples. In
No,
the 800
point of
block,
order. Let's stick to the legislation, please.
in the 800 block of Monroe
Point
Street.
of order.
I am talking about a vacant
No.
property.
Point of
Councilmember,
order. She's talking
Oliver,
about
what's your point of
everything
order?
else.
In the
People shooting
800
and
block-
all of this. Come on.
Councilmember Cabrera, just out of respect, I do have to acknowledge your
Okay.
point. Councilmember Oliver's
All right,
point
I
of
will
order.
close with this. In the 800 block of Monroe Street, there were squatters. They started a fire because it was winter, and there was a fire in that home. That could have taken down the whole block. The 211 block of Harrison Street, another vacant. They stole electric from the house next door. They cut through the gates that we put up 3 times the locks to live in that basement. There was drug paraphernalia, and that's where they lived until we finally acquired that home. So vacants deteriorate our neighborhoods, and this is going to help us overcome that. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, please call for the roll.
Councilman White,
Yes.
Councilwoman Darby,
No.
Councilwoman Oliver,
Yes.
Councilwoman Harley,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fields,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Field,
Yes.
Councilwoman Cabrera,
Yes.
Councilman Mills,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bracy,
Yes.
President Congo.
No.
10 yeas, 2 nays, and 1 absent.
Declared adopted. Thank you. At this time, we will move to petitions and communications, starting with Councilmember Bracy. Councilmember Oliver?
May I be excused?
Yes.
Thank
you. Tried to catch me off guard.
I did.
President.
I saw you jump.
Nothing tonight.
Yes, Councilmember Nathan Fields, you may be excused. Councilmember Mills?
Nothing tonight, Mr. President. Thank you.
Councilmember Cabrera?
Nothing this evening.
Councilmember Johnson?
The only item is, of course, we do have a joint finance meeting and community development urban planning meeting this upcoming Monday. It will be at 5 p.m. Some items on the agenda. I believe it's our last meeting before summer recess. And of course, as always, I wasn't sure if Council President was going to hit this, but we've already started to hear the fireworks, not only in Blue Rocks, but through our neighborhoods. So again, please be mindful of illegal fireworks and please practice fire safety. As I know, Wilmington Fire Department has circulated, as they do every year, the safety protocol. So please, let's try to avoid injuries, and also watch out for our fur babies, our pets, our dogs, everything at home, because the fireworks do affect them. So be safe, everyone, tomorrow and through the weekend.
Thank you. Councilmember McCoy.
Nothing tonight, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Brigida Fields.
Hold on. Can you come back, please?
Councilmember Harley.
Yes, I would like to announce that there's going to be a parent empowerment cafe. They're presenting summer sessions, and they start July the 9th. Some of the session topics are going to be social determinants of health, the impact of racism on education and mental health, 716 and 723. The topics are going to be parenting for resilience, equipping you with the knowledge and strategies to foster resilience in your children. And it's going to be held at Stubbs Early Education and Dual Generation Center on 11th and Pine Street from 5:30 until 6:30. This is going to be, I think, a great session. There's 3, 7-9, 7-16, and 7-23. I know in a number of community meetings that I attend, there's always the question of parenting and what can we do to help support parents with their children around giving them some skill sets and tools to better support and be better advocates for their children in school. So I really want to make sure that we get this message out around this particular event. And again, it's 3 sessions, and they have a Q code that you can scan. And again, is 7-9, 7-16, 7-23 at Stubbs Early Education Center on 11th and Pine from 5:30 until 6:30. And anyone that's interested can reach out to our city council office if they are interested. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Going back to Councilmember Brigida Fields.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I don't have anything but my quotes for today. Attitude is the difference between an ordeal or an adventure. Your attitude determines your direction. And my last one, nothing but harmony, honesty, industry, and I get tongue-tied, frugality are necessary to make us a great and happy people. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Darby. I'll come back. Councilmember White.
Thank you, Mr. President. I hope this is the last summer that we are not taking full advantage of the city schools located in the city as providing a point of recreation for our kids. It's hot. There's no reason why these schools should not be, their gymnasiums should not be open for recreational or educational. And I'm hoping that, echoing a few of Councilman Mills' comments regarding that we need to do a little bit better job for our children. And I see them walking the streets, not being industrious, as Councilwoman just said, but we have resources in our community, and there are these buildings that they do not get fully occupied during the summer, and they can be a safe haven and a cool haven for our youth. So I hope this is the last summer that council will allow these buildings not to be fully utilized for our youth in the summer. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilmember Cabrera.
Yes, Mr. President. No one mentioned that we will be having our celebration, July 4th celebration at Tubman Garrett Park tomorrow evening. The festivities begin at 4 p.m. There'll be plenty for the children to do. There'll be some entertainment on the stage, and at 9 p.m., shortly after, the fireworks will commence. And speaking of fireworks, something that Councilman Johnson said in terms of safety, I was very impacted reading the press release from our fire department, and of course, reading more in the news about the car fire that took place with the mother and the 2 children, an 8-month-old baby, and I believe a 6-year-old. They were both at the Crozier Medical Center, I believe, with severe burns. And reading more details today in the news, I saw that that they had fireworks in the trunk and they had just left the fire station. So families, please be safe, please be secure. I ask that you keep this family in prayer and hope that there's anything that they need, that we're gonna come together with some resources for them. It really broke my heart, and we just don't wanna hear about the stories that happened during a time when we're celebrating the independence of our country, that people are getting hurt. So please be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank council staff, Akira Granado, for reminding us to mention that recycle will be on Friday and Saturday because of the upcoming holiday. And again, I want to thank everyone who joined us for this evening's council meeting. If any of us on city council can ever be of any assistance, please call us at our office at 302-576-2140. And with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
It's been seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, everyone.